D. Welcome to the show, everybody. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. It's wonderful to have you along for the ride. Sean Mannion better be brilliant. It's as simple as that. There is zero wait time. There's a zero amount of patience in the Philadelphia Eagles fan base. You hired somebody with no experience. They better be a whiz kid. They better be fantastic. Sean Mannion better be that guy that could just solve the problem with no issue whatsoever. He better be able to communicate, even though he's never been a coordinator before. He better be able to call plays, even though he's never done that before. This guy has less coaching experience than Kevin Patullo. This guy has less coaching experience, obviously, than Nick Sirianni. I think Vic Fangio looks at him as if he's a fetus. I don't know. This is a very bold hire. And the last time the Eagles did something this crazy, and on the outside looking in, he could very well be brilliant. He could very well be the whiz kid that the Eagles need him to be. Jalen Hurts needs him to be. This whole offense, the city needs him to be. But Sean Mannion coming in here to Philadelphia for his first coordinator gig, for his first time calling plays, for his sake and the Eagles' sake, he better be brilliant. The last time the Eagles did something like this to a coordinator, and I said, this is so crazy, it just might work. Like, this is crazy. No experience after two different times, having guys that didn't have experience calling plays, all of a sudden calling plays. It ended with a first-round playoff exit, is what it was. A disappointing season. A season that you never looked at the team and went, this looks like a Super Bowl contender. That's the last two times they hired somebody with no play calling experience. And here we are with someone with no play calling experience. So this is so bat, crazy that it just might work. But the last time I had that feeling, the last time I had that thought was when the Eagles were 10-3 and they fired the defensive coordinator, Sean Desai, and went with Matt Patricia. It was so crazy it just might work. It didn't. We remember it didn't work. It was just part of the epic collapse in 2023. This is so crazy to not bring in someone with play calling experience. Someone who's been a coach kind of for 2 years. It's bonkers. He could very well be the brightest bulb, in the drawer and all that stuff, wherever you keep your bulbs, the closet, I don't know. He could be the sharpest knife in the drawer. But we're not going to know that until we actually see this offense. And I'm not really big on wait and see, and no matter who they hired, even when they hired Kellen Moore, we had to wait and see what kind of offense he was going to run. We had to wait and see what the Eagles were going to do with that offense. We had to wait and see how Jalen Hurts was going to look, Saquon Barkley, all that stuff. I mean, we had a pretty good idea of how it was going to work because Saquon's pretty good, and your offensive lines here in Philadelphia are pretty damn good. We had an idea. This, we got nothing. We got a vote of confidence from Matt LaFleur, but what is he going to say? Oh, no, he sucks. I'm so happy I lost him. No. There's the track record. There's the coaches he's played under. He was drafted by Jeff Fisher. Well, first, let's start with this. The Eagles, oh, man, but you know how the Eagles fall in love with you? If you were a team captain, oh, man, do they love you. If you're the son of a coach, oh, my goodness, they will bend over backwards for you. And Sean Mannion is both those things. Played for his dad in high school. His dad was the high school football coach. He was drafted by Jeff Fisher. He later played for Sean McVay. Later played with Clint Kubiak, or for Clint Kubiak, as a quarterback's coach and as offensive coordinator. Also played with Kevin O'Connell, or for Kevin O'Connell. Coached with Matt LaFleur, obviously his only coaching experience. And Kevin Stefanski as an offensive coordinator. So he has been around some sharp minds throughout his playing career. He was the backup to Nick Foles with the St. Louis Rams. He was a third overall pick in the 2015 draft. He's been surrounded by some pretty bright guys. Pete Carroll, he was in Seattle a couple times. Pete Carroll, defensive mind more than anything. Clint Hurt was actually the defensive coordinator in Seattle in his brief stints over there. He's been to a Super Bowl with the Rams when they lost to the Patriots the year following the Eagles Super Bowl win. Tom Brady's last Super Bowl victory with the Patriots there. He's been around for a 33-year-old guy, but he hasn't called plays. Yesterday, Nick Sirianni released this statement Thrilled to have Sean Mannion on board as the new offensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles. My goal throughout this process was to operate with an open mind regarding the future of our offense, to find the best fit for the Eagles. Over the last few weeks, I had an opportunity to meet with a number of talented candidates and great offensive minds, and I'm appreciative of the time I was able to spend with each of them. Some came in with years of experience running an offense and calling plays. Others were young, sharp, dynamic coaches on the rise. Let's stop right there. All right, he can be sharp. If you're looking for a dynamic coach, Malik Willis. Actually, thanks to our friend Jeff Kerr pointing this out on social media. Some of the numbers with Malik Willis. Prior to joining the Packers, 53% completion percentage. No touchdowns, 3 interceptions. After joining the Packers, it went from a 53% completion percentage to 78.7. 6 touchdowns, no interceptions. Overall passer rating went from just under 50 to 134. All right. So if you're asking whether or not he can coach, this is a good example of that he can coach. As a quarterback's coach, he can make a quarterback better. So, all right, so maybe he can coach. Maybe he can communicate. This is a feather in his cap there. It's not everything, but it's certainly not nothing. When you basically have nothing, you got to look at whatever you got, and then you got to analyze it. So this is him making a guy better. Good for him. But that doesn't tell me he can call plays or not. I know that people are excited about the fact that the Packers were 31st in hitch routes last season, where the Eagles were number 1. So maybe he's going to have more of that school. Maybe he's going to have more of Matt LaFleur. Maybe he's going to have more of Kevin Stefanski. Maybe he's going to have more of Kevin O'Connell. Maybe he's going to have more of Sean McVay with that type of experience. I like the minds he's been around, but that immediately makes me go to Billy Davis, a guy who actually had a track record as a defensive coordinator, and Chip Kelly, despite the fact that it sucked, hired him. And I remember I asked Chip at the press conference shortly after Billy Davis was hired. I said, the track record's not there. So what makes him the right what makes him the right choice? And he's like, well, meet him. And I did. And I listened to him. And I went, you know what? If I was casting a movie, this is the guy I would hire to be a defensive coordinator in my movie, or a head coach. He is football through and through. Even got a little twang to his voice there. And guess what? I wasn't casting a movie. I was hoping the Philadelphia Eagles to have a good football team, and they did not. And he had been around some brilliant minds in his career. Sean Mannion has been around some brilliant minds in his career. The question is to whether or not it's rubbed off. The other thing that I do find interesting about Sean Mannion, before I go back to this, the piece here by Nick Sirianni, allegedly, what I do find interesting is he called it quits early in his career. I mean, 31 years old to be like, yeah, I think I'm going to go into coaching. I'm going to go into coaching. That shows that you really obviously have a willingness to do it. You have a desire to do it, and something that you want to be great at. That's a good sign. He didn't hang on to a couple more years of maybe banging around the NFL and other places. Maybe there was no other opportunities. I don't know. But the fact that this is something that he always kind of programmed himself. I saw Chris Long talking about it yesterday. Basically, it's a testament to the type of guy that he is, the worker that he is. All that's great. He's going to need it here in Philadelphia. Nick Sirianni went on to say, quickly apparent in the meeting with Sean that he's a bright young coach with a tremendous future ahead of him in this league. He was impressed by his systematic views and on offensive football, and his strategic approach. Then he went on to say, we welcome him and his wife, Megan, to the Eagles family. Signed, head coach Nick Sirianni. P.S. Sorry, I rested my starters in week 18. It's okay, Nick. It's okay. It's not okay. He didn't say that, but I wish he did. You could have looked at guys with the experience of Jim Bob Cooter. You could have looked at guys with the experience of Matt Nagy. You could have looked at a lot of places to bring in guys that had some experience. And I knew that with Todd Monken taking over the head coaching responsibilities of the Cleveland Browns, it was right away going to mess with the Eagles' opportunity to land an experienced offensive coordinator. Because I don't think John Harbaugh is going into New York thinking, let me groom a young talent. I mean, he might, but I would think he'd want somebody that knows what the hell they're doing. And he knows that they know what the hell they're doing. Not like, let's take a gamble. I knew that was going to mess with maybe who the Eagles were choosing from. There was word yesterday about a second interview with Gerard Johnson. There was word yesterday about a second interview with Grizzard. And then quickly after, news came out that the Eagles had hired Sean Mannion. We're obviously not going to see his offense for months. My questions going into it remain. Can a 33-year-old with 1 year experience as a position coach and 2 years experience on a coaching staff come in here and get this offense back on track? Can he make suggestions or call plays that Jalen Hurts is going to run, even if it's out of Jalen's comfort zone? Because I know that's because, look, for the record, I'm of the belief that Jalen Hurts just wants to win football games. If you call up a run play, I don't think, for him, a quarterback draw, for instance, I don't think he's checking out of that play simply because he doesn't want to run. How is he going to approach this relationship with a quarterback that is as accomplished as Jalen Hurts when he's a guy that I think is tied for career touchdown passes with Brian Dawkins? Is that right? Brian Dawkins had that one, right? I was trying to think of like an obscure Eagle to throw a touchdown pass. I think it was him. Maybe it was Brian West. I can't remember. Yeah, it's not an illustrious career, 8-9 years banging around the NFL the way he did. Teams that he played for, the Rams, the Vikings, the Seahawks, they wanted him back. Had at least two stints with all of them. Multiple head coaches, including Sean McVay and Jeff Fisher, both wanted him on the Rams. Fisher enough to draft him in the third round. McVay enough to keep him around as a backup later to Jared Goff. There are things that certainly are testaments to his character and his work ethic. But when you're looking at stats, that's not going to really do anything for you. At Oregon State, he was a baller, absolute baller. But we're going to be analyzing everything just to give us an idea of what he could want to do. But if you're looking for any vote of confidence, if you're looking for any reason to be optimistic, the reason to be optimistic is that he has been around a lot of brilliant football minds that are doing a lot of things in the NFL that we'd like to see the Eagles do. That comes from either Matt LaFleur or that comes from Sean McVay, maybe Kevin Stefanski, maybe that comes from Kevin O'Connell, all the guys that he's worked with throughout his career. That's what we have to hang our hat on right now. And I think the biggest vote of confidence is you could either say, well, he's young, he's going to be a lapdog, he's going to do whatever Nick Sirianni wants him to do, and Nick Sirianni has confirmed that he will be calling, that Sean Mannion will be calling plays. You could say he's young and he's going to be a lapdog. He's going to do whatever they tell him to do. Yeah, you might be right. The other aspect of it is they went with a young guy who has never had this job before because they truly feel as if he can come in here and he can hit the reset button on this offense and get him going again to be a consistent offense, to be an offense that's not going to have two different games this season where they go an entire second half without a completion, for crying out loud. Is this going to be a guy that can scheme guys open? Is this going to be a guy that's like, oh, hey, you know what? Saquon's pretty good in the passing game. Maybe we should get him in the football. Maybe we should get him in the football in that way. Maybe we should run motion where we're not just seeing whether or not the defense is in man or in zone. Maybe we can actually use that to get guys open. Maybe we can use that as a way to pull one over on the defense. Because one of the things that is the most indicting thing about last season, and I credit my man Mike Sealski with this all the time, and it's true. When he asked Dallas Goedert, do you ever feel, this was this year, do you ever feel like you're surprising the defense with what you're running, like catching them off guard? And Dallas Goedert just went, that's a tough question to ask. That's a tough question to answer. Yeah, it was, because no, the answer is no. And if he answered that question, honestly, that'd be throwing Patullo under the bus, the proverbial bus that we speak so much about. I've heard the word exciting be used about Sean Mannion being hired as the Eagles offensive coordinator. agita is more the feeling because you don't know anything. At least with Jim Bob Cooter, you knew a little something. All right? At least with a Matt Nagy, you knew a little something. Sean Mannion, you got nothing. You got nothing. If Kellen Moore came in here with all the experience, the perfect candidate for the perfect time, if he came in here and then it looked like after the bye week, they just said, let's not do anything fancy. We got Saquon Barkley. We got this offensive line. And it wasn't even Kellen Moore that cracked the code on that one, man. And you didn't have to be CIA to crack that one, you know? The players went to Nick Sirianni and they're like, hey, you know, Saquon is really good at football and stuff. We should probably use that guy a little bit more. Oh, okay, that's a great idea. And then they're in the Super Bowl after a historic run season. Running here. So even Kellen Moore, the whiz kid that he was supposed to be, they had a push button offense. That's pretty easy. Even if what you schemed up didn't work, it was like, all right, hit the red button that says Saquon on it and touchdown. That's kind of what it was like 2 years ago. This year, no saving grace. Offensive line banged up. Maybe you could say Saquon was a step slower after all the touches he had in the previous season. Jalen had a down year, to say the least. Nothing was working for the Eagles. A.J. Brown was all pissed off. Nothing was working. They ignored Dallas Goedert was healthy for the most part, but they ignored him for 5 games. That was dumb. Is Sean Mannion going to be the guy to recognize what's working and not only use it, but also be able to disguise it? And is he going to have an actual leeway where he's not just going to be calling plays, but he's going to be running the offense? Like, I don't want Nick Sirianni coming in here and saying, all right, here's the box, stay in the box. No, the reason you literally went outside the box here is because you wanted to bring in somebody who was a different thinker. Somebody that had a different idea of scheme, a different philosophy. That's why he's here. So I need to see Jalen Hurts get back to not what he was in 2024 when the Eagles won the Super Bowl. Granted, I want him back in that Super Bowl. I want him being what he was in 2022 when he didn't have a push button, when he didn't have the greatest rushing attack in 30 years, behind you to save you. That's what Sean Mannion needs to do. You need to see Saquon back on track. You certainly need to see Jalen back on track. And you see Devontae Smith doing his thing. And if A.J. Brown's still here, another 1,000-yard season at least for him. Really, in this day and age, it should be like at least 1,100 yards, 1,200 yards for a guy like A.J. Brown. And whoever your tight end is, involved. Need him involved in this offense. One other thing is the idea of how many times you watch the film from this past Eagles season and you see receivers in the same spot. And I'm not talking about Jalen Hurts is scrambling around for an hour trying to buy time behind the line of scrimmage. I'm talking about top of his drop, guys in the same spot. Like, that's not Jalen. That is a huge indictment of coaching and play design. You have 2 guys in the same spot. One guy can cover that. That ain't good. I mean, this is just ridiculous how many times we saw it last season. Also, the amount of times, if there's something that I would like to see corrected with Jalen Hurts this year, and if Sean Mannion is the guy that could be a quarterback whisperer, or whatever it might be, or get something through a quarterback's head, is Jalen bailed on the pocket a lot of times this year when it was clean. And look, as the season went on, was he getting a little shell-shocked maybe because there was so much pressure because the offensive line wasn't playing at the level that they were playing at? But there's specific times this year that you could go to. The one that sticks out the most to me, and right off the top of my head, is the Buffalo Bills game in the second half. Jalen has a clean pocket with Saquon open in the flat, and for whatever reason, he gets out of the pocket and escapes into pressure. He rolls out of the pocket on not a bootleg, design drop back, and he rolls into pressure. There's one completion he could have had in the second half. Saquon, flat, one got to beat. Take that every time. If he can get him to stay in that pocket and not just hit the escape button, I think that would work wonders for Jalen's upcoming season. I think it will work wonders for Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown if he's still here, Saquon Barkley, whoever the tight end's going to be. I think that would just overall help the quarterback out. And then just seeing the field better, going through progressions better. If he could work with a guy like Malik Willis and help him with that, I think he can certainly work with a guy like Jalen Hurts and help him out with that as well. Or find a way to make that comfort zone more efficient for Jalen Hurts. But one thing is for damn sure. Let's see here. What do we got? We got all of February left. March, April, May, June, July, August, September. We got 8 months. 8 months to try to figure out what Sean Mannion is going to do with this offense. We have 8 months until we can actually see it, because we're not going to see anything in preseason. We have 8 months to try to figure out what this is going to look like. When I saw the news yesterday that it was Sean Mannion, for his sake, I was like, he better be brilliant, man. He better be brilliant. The other thing I thought was, how about the balls on the Eagles? How about the balls these guys have? Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni, the cojones on you fellas to have Brian Johnson never call plays. You're out in the playoffs, first round. Bring in Kellen Moore, plenty of experience calling plays, even over Mike McCarthy in Dallas. And you go to a Super Bowl and win. Shane Steichen, second year, calling plays. You're in the Super Bowl. You lose, unfortunately, but your offense is pretty damn good. And then last year, Kevin Patullo never called plays, and just throw him in. And by the way, Kevin Patullo still hasn't been hired anywhere else, by the way. Is Kevin Patullo going to work under Sean Mannion? I'd be very surprised. But the balls on the Eagles brass, they got some brass ones. There you go. To make a hire with no experience is insane. You're asking a guy who just became a coach to all of a sudden put your offense back on track. An offense with the expectation of winning a Super Bowl. A fan base that expects this team to compete for a Super Bowl. That's who you're giving the keys to the castle. And I doubt it's going to be full autonomy. It might be calling plays, but it's not going to be full autonomy. I would very much doubt that. There will be heavy influence, I'm sure. But you got to be careful with that influence if this is what you're doing. If your decision is to roll the dice with a young bull, you got to see that bull kick, man. You got to see that bull be aggressive and let them see red and go after it. For his sake, he better be brilliant. Because it could very well be the end of the Nick Sirianni era here in Philadelphia. It could happen. Or it could be the smartest hire they've made in a very, very long time. And he's the guy that knows how to solve the problems. Again, you go through the coaches. Jeff Fisher, obviously, but defensive mind. Sean McVay, Clint Kubiak, Kevin O'Connell, Matt LaFleur, and Kevin Stefanski. The other interesting thing, by the way, this is a fun fact. When he was drafted in 2015, Troy Vincent was the one that announced him. Just a whatever. I mentioned his dad was his coach in high school. The other thing is, one of the things that we thought might be not an attractive thing for other coaches is how much involvement Jeff Stoutland has had in this offense. Well, the report from Jeff McClain yesterday was that the Eagles demoted Jeff Stoutland at some point last season as the run game coordinator. Was that the more power or more involved Nick Sirianni was? Maybe that's why Nick Sirianni wasn't saying a damn thing during that little sideline get-together with 43 seconds left. Maybe because they definitely weren't going to be running the football. Maybe that's why. I don't know. But taking power away from Jeff Stoutland seems like a dumb idea, considering I think he knows exactly what the hell he's doing. What a run game coordinator does during a game, I have no idea. But it could just be a fancy title that they gave him. But I don't think a report would come out that they took it away from him if he was doing nothing. That thing has always rubbed me the wrong way. Really going back to Chip Kelly throwing Deuce Staley under the bus in Carolina when he was asked about why he had certain running backs available and why they weren't going to like bell cow guys. And he's like, oh, well, that's Deuce. Deuce puts in the running back. It's like, really? A control freak like you, Chip Kelly, you just let the running back coach go, you? Really? Don't believe you. So I don't know if Sean Mannion is going to be running the entire offense when it comes to game plan, when it comes to overall scheme, when it comes to the run game. But this is a lot to put on the plate of a guy who just started doing this. And if I'm going to try to be optimistic about anything, or a repeating thought over the next 8 months, it's going to be all about that it's so crazy it just might work. And maybe working with these coaches, he'll actually get to use some of the things that he's learned throughout his playing career and his very brief coaching career. Give him the opportunity, see if he can run with it. But I look forward to hearing when he is officially introduced at his press conference. No word on that yet. And I want to hear exactly what he wants to do, lessons he has learned, mentors that he's had in his career. I want to hear it all. And let me just double check to see if anything's been announced with no, nothing has been announced as far as a press conference. I did watch some of his press conference in Green Bay, I think when he took over the job as quarterbacks coach. And one of the big things he emphasizes is what you hear from every single quarterback coach. It's, footwork, the preparation, stuff like that. And it's like, okay, he can run a press conference. We'll see if he's nervous as all hell when he has his in Philadelphia, but really looking forward to hearing what he has to say about his first coordinator gig at 33 years old. Here's one advantage that I didn't even mention in terms of, I obviously mentioned his playing career. Shane Steichen wasn't an NFL quarterback. Kevin Patullo was not an NFL quarterback. Maybe. Brian Johnson, we referenced it a while back. Brian Johnson had a top 10 offense. He was a former he was a former quarterback. I won't go so crazy that way, but that's what you have in the mix right now with the Philadelphia Eagles. Is you have a guy that at least is a former NFL quarterback, a guy that's played the position, a guy that in college, Brian Johnson played at a high level in college. Certainly, Sean Mannion has played at a high level in college. Not so much for Steichen. Not at all for Kevin Patullo. Kellen Moore played the position. So that's where we're at right now. Hey, your Philadelphia 76ers. As I said on the post-game short last night, you never want to see your somewhat good basketball team, not great, not championship caliber, at least not yet. You never want to see that team down 11 points with 7:44 remaining in the fourth quarter to a 12-win Sacramento Kings team. But yet, there we were in the fourth quarter. The Sixers' largest lead going into that fourth quarter was 8 points, I believe. So Sacramento wasn't going away at any point during the game. And then they finally went on a big run in that third quarter, and they actually built into that fourth quarter an 11-point lead, again, with 7:44 remaining in the game. And it was like, are they just, is Schroeder just not going to miss? Is Zach LaVine catching fire? Stuff like that. Is Sabonis just going to be getting every board? Like, it was just things like that that made you think, okay, maybe now they're just not going to get the bounces and they're going to go ice cold. But that's not at all what happened. Sixers game last night, at that 7:44 mark of the fourth, Nick Nurse called timeout with the Sixers down 11. The Sixers go to the sideline there. They go to the bench, being booed by the South Philly faithful, and I don't blame you a little bit. I always say booed. If you're a athlete in Philadelphia, you hear boos, you should only think of it as, I need to get my you-know-what together. This is the kick in the ass I need. Let's go. And the Sixers got it together. The Sixers, after that timeout, closed out the game 21-8 against the Sacramento Kings to win the basketball game and get their 26th win of the season, improve to 26-21 on the year. The other thing is, not only did they go on that run, they had 2 out-of-bounds plays with about 5 seconds left in the game, tied at 111, that Nick Nurse had to draw up. 2. I liked the first one. I loved the second one. The second one, Tyrese Maxey actually gets open at the top of the key. The problem was Sacramento defended it perfectly in terms of trying to allow the inbounds pass. So they cut that off, but the play essentially worked to get Tyrese Maxey open, and he was wide open. Unfortunately, they had to inbound the ball to Kelly Oubre, who had the ball smacked out of his hands immediately. So all of a sudden, you got 4.5 seconds left on the clock, and you have to run another play. So then they run the fail-safe play that I love, and that is just speed on speed, babe. That is Tyrese Maxey in the backcourt trying to run a go route, okay? And they get him in the backcourt, full head of steam. I think he beat Schroeder. Embiid at the top of the key, gets the pass. Nice little toss, beautifully executed to Tyrese Maxey, who's got the full head of steam. Not only does he get the bucket to put you up 113 to 111, he also gets the foul, goes to the line with 1.4 seconds left. I think he missed on purpose. I listened to Nick Nurse after the game. Didn't say. Listen to Tyrese Maxey after the game. Didn't say. But I'd like to think he missed on purpose. He misses, and that's the ball game. I think Zach LaVine got a final heave off, or he didn't even get it off, unfortunately for him. But fortunately for the Sixers, as they got the win last night. Maxey, those 2 points that won you the game, that won the Sixers the game, were his 39th and 40th points on the night, a game high. Joel Embiid had 37 points last night. Maxey also had 8 assists in last night's win. Hey, look, again, you don't want to see them have to struggle to put away a team like the Kings, but that's basketball. One of the things that really bothered me was the fact that you had this you have these 2 games coming up here. This game against the Kings and then tomorrow night against the Pelicans. You have an opportunity to go out on the West Coast trip at 27-21 on the season. 27-21 is your opportunity. Before you go on a 5-game West Coast trip. I know they've been a very good road team. They haven't been a very good home team, but they've been very good on the road. Stack the W's now, man. You have Joel Embiid playing at an extremely high level. You have Tyrese Maxey getting back on the 40-point track. Great to see him do that. And not necessarily a volume night for him either, for Maxey. What was his final numbers? Maxey was 40 points on 18 shots. Hell yeah, man. He also had 13 free throws. He missed 1, and it was on purpose. He also had 8 assists. Joel Embiid also had 8 assists last night. He had 37 on 21 shots. That's the way that one broke down. And Paul George had 15. His 15 points, for the most part, were in a great spot for the Sixers. It was in the fourth quarter. Open in the fourth quarter, he got the Sixers started off on the comeback trail. So that was good. But 40 from Maxey, 37 from Embiid, 15 from Paul George. And then here's something I thought was interesting. Nobody had more than 5 points after that. VJ Edgecombe had 5. Dominic Barlow had 5. McCain had 4. Edwards hit a 3. And Kelly Oubre had 4. After the game, after the win, Nick Nurse was talking about it like, yeah, I would like to see more from Oubre and VJ and those guys. And that's fine. That's absolutely worth saying. But there's one thing that did bother me after the game that was said. It wasn't anything Nick Nurse said. Paul George at his locker said this was a coast game. Paul George said the words into microphones in front of cameras, this was a coast game. Say what now? I know you weren't playing in it, but you got spanked by the Hornets, man. I still can't believe 50 trailed by 50 points. Trailed by 50 points at the end of the third quarter. And you think this team can hit the cruise control? Well, I'm glad you guys woke up at the 7:44 mark at that time out of the fourth quarter. But man, can I not sweat the Pelicans game? Which, by the way, they're honoring the 2001 Sixers squad. They've been wearing the black jerseys, throughout the year, as we know. Even though they're not the authentic Allen Iverson black jerseys, these are more tank tops that they're wearing now. The other ones from the 2001 season were the cutoffs. Come on, you ain't fooling me none. Anyway, when they played the Pelicans 7:30 on Saturday night, I know I'm going to be in my feels, man, because I was 17, 18 years old when that run was going on. And I know I've talked about this a million times, but man, going through that run, it was like there was a party every night. Who was hosting whose house were we going to be at? Pizza and wings, and we're watching watching Allen Iverson do his thing, and that's what we did through the Bucks, through the Raptors, obviously the Pacers, I believe they beat first, and then obviously on to LA. It was a party every night. And Allen Iverson, that era, that was my era. That was that's the era I really grew up in. And seeing guys like Eric Snow throughout the year, Theo Ratliff. I got the chance to interview Dikembe Mutombo. I've interviewed Allen Iverson. That team, that 2001 team, it's like the 93 Phillies, the teams that just make you feel like you're a kid again when you see highlights of them. It's exactly that. And Saturday they're gonna honor that team, and I know I'll be thinking about being at whoever's house it was that night, where whoever was hosting the party, and just living and dying with every bounce of the basketball, man. That was such a great time. Yesterday, news came out from Shams Charania, or 2 days ago, news came out from Shams Charania of Giannis Antetokounmpo's short list. Giannis's short list did not have the 76ers on it. Then later, Jake Fisher yesterday said that Giannis Antetokounmpo is intrigued by the idea of coming to Philadelphia and has been a big fan of Tyrese Maxey. Miami was a place that was on Giannis's short list. The Knicks were on the short list as well. The Knicks, the Minnesota Timberwolves were on the list. These are teams, for most part, with the exception of the Heat, that you wouldn't have to give up the person that would also be that number 2 to Giannis. So he's got to have a running mate. Jalen Brunson, Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Maxey. If you're asking me to ship off Paul George to get Giannis, done. If you're asking me to ship Joel Embiid away to get Giannis, done. Doing it in a heartbeat. And that's ultimately, I think the only way the Sixers bring in Giannis Antetokounmpo is if they part with Joel Embiid. I do not see those two coexisting on the same basketball team. I would, if they get Giannis, this isn't happening, but just I know this is a conversation. Hell yeah. Opportunity to move on from Joel Embiid's contract? Yeah. For a guy who's, a year younger? without the injury history that Joel Embiid has, dunzo. I'm doing that. The spacing that could help with Tyrese Maxey, absolutely. I don't see how they also pull this off without having to trade VJ Edgecombe also. But again, this isn't happening. I would be shocked if they actually pulled this off. They're not doing it. But if they're able to get Giannis here, I'd love to see how that's going to work with Joel Embiid. If it means it just cost you Paul George and whatever else, but that first round pick from the Clippers probably will be in there. But again, this isn't happening. But it is very intriguing to think about Giannis Antetokounmpo in a Sixers jersey. Very, very intriguing. And the first thing he'd have to do is apologize to my man Dean, who set up the ladder to change the cameras at the then Wells Fargo Center when Giannis knocked the ladder over. That was my man. That's my man, Giannis. Okay, Greek freak. Don't mess with my man. Yeah. It's a conversation, but it's not happening. I definitely don't want to see him go to the Knicks. That's for damn sure. Don't want to see him go to the Knicks. By the way, I said it. 113-111. Sixers won last night. So there you go. Hey, let me tell you about the Gametime app. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, get $20 off your first purchase on the Gametime app. How about PHL Sports Nation? Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's phlsportsnation.com. Let's get into the chat check and see how you wonderful people are doing on this fine, fine morning. Oh, my goodness. You guys are popping off today. Sean Gillespie, hello. Good morning. Central Time, hell yeah. OC without eggs and toilet paper that can wait until week 1. There you go. Thank God it's Friday. Pin, I couldn't agree more. After all the shoveling I've done this week, I need a relaxing weekend. And here's the thing. I still got to do a little bit more. And not on mine, but my neighbor needs a little help. Should help her out with that. There you go. Thank God it's Farzy. Thank you, Natalie. I like that. Print the T-shirts. Print the T-shirts. Kevin, I hope you're staying warm as well. Sean Gillespie, Eagles organization just want people they can control their damn arrogance. Well, here's the thing. If they're doing this just to control someone who's supposed to be a young, brilliant mind, well, then shame on them. Because that ain't going to work. Can you imagine being Sean Mannion coming in here and being like, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have this guy moving over here with that guy moving here. We're going to do this, that. And then next year I go, we really don't do that here. Could you maybe change that to a pointless motion with a hitch route? Thanks. And don't you dare ask Jalen to run. Well, by the way, I said this in the season, so this isn't revisionist history, but this is something I want to mention. Remember when people bitched about how much Jalen ran? He needs to run less. Well, this year he ran less. People are like, why isn't he running? You can't win. You just can't win. Is Jalen the guy? He's been to 2 Super Bowls. He is a Super Bowl champion and MVP. All that year when you were questioning whether or not he could make the throws if they shut down Saquon Barkley, he made the throws. Yeah, but is he the guy? Oh, my God. I can't. Sometimes I just can't even with some people, you know? What is wrong with trying a play caller on a collegiate level? Well, apparently they didn't want to. Charlie Weiss Jr. and that other dude blanking. We're like, no, thanks. Not for me. Bye-bye. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Sean Kilrain, hello. I will never consider Pete Carroll a great mind with that damn horrible Super Bowl play call. Yeah, I was at that game. Malcolm Butler, the hero of 2 Super Bowls. One, that one, and the other, what was it, like late to the Patriots bus or something, and then Belichick benched him for the Eagles game? Nice work, Bill. Just over that, you're not making the whole thing. April, what's going on, April? Pete is overrated. One good year. I mean, Seattle was always competitive. But I'm not making all I'm saying is that it was a experienced head coach that had obviously been around. Like Jeff Fisher. It's very similar with Jeff Fisher. Both defensive-minded guys, more than anything, obviously, but also been around. They've been around, you know. Colombian, what's going on? Hello. Cousin, hello. Mannion played under Sean McVay, Clint Kubiak, Kevin Stefanski, Kevin O'Connell, some great offensive minds. He's now coached for 2 years under LaFleur. Nobody makes me bleed my own blood, LaFleur. Eagles will be getting some ingredients of Shanahan, LaFleur, McVay system. LaFleur said earlier this month about the job to do the Packers coach. Where are you at, Sean? The real question is, what did Howie see in Sean? Look, these are all legit questions. Arthur saying KP 2.0 2027 is the only good thing is Nick is gone this year. It's possible. KP has a ton more experience than this guy at this point. Yeah, I haven't listened to all of Nick Foles' podcast. Nick called him one of the most brilliant minds he's ever been around. Nick said he has a photographic memory and his football IQ is through the roof. Thank you, Tony. Wonder if Mannion has agreed to have an earpiece so that Jeff can call plays directly to Jalen. Maybe. I think Nick will be gone if it looks bad. I agree. I absolutely agree. Oh, I saw this. Yes. Breaking news. Bill Belichick and Jordan Hudson reported they're no longer dating. She only dates first ballot Hall of Famers. I thought I saw that. That's great. Philly special. I saw they're going to do a special on that. A special on the Philly special. That's great. AS says fans need to adjust their expectations if you think this is currently a Super Bowl offense. Currently, this is not a Super Bowl offense. Because you don't know who's on your offense. If you're telling me Dallas Goedert's back, AJ Brown's, if you're running it back with this offense, absolutely a Super Bowl offense. Absolutely. Organize the talent, call plays that at least imitate something creative. Yes, you can get back to a Super Bowl. I just don't think all those names are going to be back. John Cheeseborough, what's going on? I thought it would have been Jim Bob Cooter, but historically, we know the Eagles find the guy nobody else was talking about. See Andy, Doug, Sirianni for further information. So the thing with Andy Reid was he had that binder, man. He had that binder. He was also the assistant head coach to Mike Holmgren in Green Bay. He had worked with a Hall of Fame quarterback in Brett Favre. Been around a minute. It wasn't like he was, that much of a spring chicken. What was he, 41 when he took over the Eagles gig? I can't remember. But yeah, Andy, Doug, Sirianni. These weren't guys that people were banging down the door for. But these are all head coaches. This is an offensive coordinator who's never done it. And being asked to save an offense. One thing they can't say is that the offense is predictable, at least for now. Yeah, right, because he's never done it. Brian Johnson, EA Sports cover. Wow. Farsighted coordinator. Thank you very much, Brian. Quality of coordinator is irrelevant. The question is how much sabotage will be applied by Sirianni. I am with you. That's a huge question. Jason loves the new OC hire. All right. I hope we feel the same way. Why do Philly teams like to play down to their opponent? I don't know. I think because they like to torture us. No hip-hop in uniform, shorts, and jersey. Oh, that's sad. Young jersey. No Giannis. No way, Farzy. They would have to give him the max in July, and he's 31. Yeah. I got more confidence in that than I do Embiid lasting for 4 more years. Embiid's playing great. I've seen him play great. I've seen him be an MVP. I've seen him be an MVP caliber player. It's great. He's awesome. I love him. But if you're asking me if I want that for 4 more years, Yeah, I do, but I don't have any confidence that he's going to be able to play at that level for 4 more years. Oh, there you go, Eden. I'd trade Embiid for Giannis. So would I. No way Sixers brass figures that out. Look, that's not. It's not happening. Oh yeah, the Flyers lost last night too. That sucks. Yeah, it's not good for the Flyers right now, folks. It's not good. Thanks to everybody in the chat. You guys are great as per usual. Here's what you got going on tonight. Nothing. Tomorrow, Sixers back on the hardwood. South Philadelphia, 7:30 start time. That's going down. And also, the Flyers have the Kings tomorrow afternoon at 12:30. That one is a home game as well, so it'll be a quick flip. At the Xfinity Mobile Arena. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. My name is Mark Farzy. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Me and Keith Pompey coming up at 10 o'clock today with Locked On 76ers. Make sure you guys check that out on the Locked On 76ers YouTube channel. Catch you guys later.